Mr. Speaker, the November 24th issue of the Globe and Mail has outlined and calls out the government, this NDP government, because it flooded the good people of Lake St. Martin First Nation in order to save so many others in southern Manitoba. Grand Chief Derek Nepenak is in the Grand Chief Derek Nepenak said right from the start, the Premier has said that he was going to dictate what happened with the communities, and that is unacceptable. Adrian Sinclair has also indicated that the Premier has basically left his community out to dry. I ask the Premier, after deciding to flood out the good people of Lake St. Martin, why has he not supported the home that they want in the higher ground near Grahamdale rather than offering them an old army base?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The folks in Lake St. Martin, that community and their families have suffered enormously from this flood, the record highest flood we've seen in modern history in Manitoba. And I think all of us in this legislature would like to see those families get reestablished and stabilized back home as quickly as possible. The radar site was never envisaged as anything more than a temporary site to allow people to get as close to home as possible and to be on high, dry ground while the community was being rebuilt. And the channel that we built, the emergency channel that we built, brought the lake down to an acceptable level. The emergency channel has been, as you know, constructed. It has brought down the lakes. It has brought down both lakes over more than 5 feet in a record amount of time. That has created the conditions for starting to rebuild these communities, and we are very committed to working with the First Nations that have been affected by this flood to find permanent, long-term solutions so that this won't happen to them ever again.
Mr. Speaker, the good people of Little Saskatchewan and Dauphin River are still in a crisis mode, evacuated from their homes for the most part because of the problems of the flood of 2011. And many of these cannot return to their homes because their homes are infested with mold. And the problem is that this Premier has said, well, we're going to fully compensate everybody who was artificially flooded last year. But I ask the Premier now, will he make sure all the homes in Little Saskatchewan and Dauphin River are mold-free in order that people can go home? And why has it taken a year and a half even to get started on this?
Mold has been a serious problem and continues to be a serious problem in some of the homes that are in First Nations communities, particularly in the areas that have flooded. We have rebuilt roads so people can have access to their communities in the case of Dauphin River. We have brought the lake down by 5 feet by building an emergency channel after we got federal permission to do that under the environmental regulations. We have built ready-to-move homes of a very high quality that are available for people on a temporary basis and will be available on a long-term basis in a location that meets the needs of those communities. And so we will continue to work towards bringing folks back home into safe housing that's on high and dry ground for the future. In the meantime, we've invested in ensuring that young people in the city have access to recreation programs through the University of Winnipeg. We've made sure that they have access to daycare where they need it. We've offered an after-school program to the folks, the children and students of Lake St. Martin, and we appreciate the fact that the leadership has accepted that. We want to ensure children get an education and proper care and activities as we work with First Nations leadership and the federal government to rebuild these communities.
First Minister's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, Lake St. Martin community member Dr. Merle Ballard has documented this tragic story of what's happened to Lake St. Martin in a film called Flooding Hope, the Lake St. Martin story. She has documented as part of this the health problems of flood evacuees, including all the stress they've been through, the depression, the suicides. She's also shown that there is a vision for a new home on higher ground near Grahamdale. I ask the Premier, when will he move quickly to make sure that the people of Lake St. Martin can move to this new home on higher ground near Grahamdale where they've indicated that they want to move?
Mr. Speaker, we will continue to work with leadership to find a solution for that community that puts them on higher and safer ground for the future so that this event cannot happen again. The Grahamdale property is one that they can consider. The Haliburton property is one they can consider. and the radar site was never envisioned as anything more than temporary residences for people until their home communities were in better shape or other long-term solutions were agreed on. This has been a challenging event for the people that have been affected by this. We're very aware that the suffering is very great, which is why we've gone and provided as many additional resources as we can, and which is why we are committed to continuing to work with them to ensure that they can get back to higher and safer ground, and in the meantime provide support for children and families to get education, recreation opportunities, daycare opportunities, and after-school opportunities, so those children do not waste a day, no matter where they live, and having the opportunity to fully develop to the adults we know they can be.